Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on this webinar with BAE Systems. My name is Fern. I am part of the Student Success team at Target Jobs. We're really excited to be joined by some amazing reps today from BAE Systems who are going to give you a bit more of an insight into kind of who they are and the careers that they offer as well. Just a few housekeeping rules. If you do have any questions at all, then please feel free to pop them into your question tab in the bottom right corner, and our BAE reps will go through and answer them at the end. And if you want to ask kind of anything to them, they're here to help you out with whatever. But what I will do now is I will pass over to Jenny to kick things off. Hi everyone, I'm back again. We're just having a few technical issues at the moment, and Jenny will be back on shortly. But what I will go into is I'll just cover the agenda of what we're going to go through today and what BAE Systems will cover. So today we're going to have a bit of a presentation from our graduate recruiters on the different programs that they offer, go into a bit more depth into that kind of area. Whilst they're doing that, then obviously, as we said before, ask any questions that you want, that you feel like asking, that you've been thinking about for a while. And then after we hear from our grad recruiters, we're then going to go on to a panel discussion with the current grads, and a chance for them to kind of share their experience, whilst also kind of going into what it's been like coming into BAE Systems, and kind of the different kind of day-to-day life and roles that they do. And then we're going to have a Q&A with both our graduates and recruiters, which again, as I said before, we will kind of cover all of your questions that you might have. But hopefully, Jenny, are you available for me to pass over to you and you can give a bit more of a...
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, I can hear you again, so hopefully you guys can hear me. Please do let me know if it cuts out again. I think we always have some form of technical issues. But great. So obviously, as Fern said, in terms of the introductions, so we're just going to cover, as I said, a short presentation, panel discussion and your questions. So on the call now, we've got, I think, at least one. I think Lauren's there. He's one of our graduate recruiters. He's got a short presentation just around some of the programs that are available at BAE, both undergraduate and graduate, and also about some of the processes behind that and what those entail. So hopefully I'm going to be able to pass over to Lauren now if she can hear and also can speak.
I can, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, that sounds
Perfect.
good. If we can move on to the slide as well. We should be able to do that. Oh, there we go. I'll hand over to you, Lauren.
Perfect, thank you. So, BAE Systems offers a number of undergraduate and graduate programmes, and that's across various different sites in the UK. So we've got our summer intern programme, which is a 12-week placement that you do within your university. And we've got an industrial placement, which can also be known as an undergraduate programme, and that's 12 months. And they provide unique experiences into the organisation and the opportunity to secure a route into our graduate programme. It's obviously not guaranteed, it all depends on yourself, your development, how well you've done in your programmes, but we are there to assist you and help you along the way. We then do also have our graduate programme, which is also known as the Accelerate programme, and that can vary between 18 to 30 months, and that is non-rotational. So for the whole time you are with us, you will stay in the same role, in the same location, and that just allows you to pace your own development and benefit from the early responsibilities and progression. You will benefit from a company that places enormous value on our undergraduate and graduate programmes, and you will join a network of over 1,000 current graduates across the UK, and we have had roughly around 800 graduates start with us a couple of weeks ago, back in September. So we do have various different business units, all focusing on a specific area of the business, and we recruit summer interns, undergraduates and graduates into all of these, and that includes air, maritime, naval ships, submarines, electronic systems, land, shared services and head office. If we could just have the next slide, please, Jenny. Perfect, thank you. So this slide is a little bit confusing, so I will break it down for you. So it basically relates to how you personally develop within our Accelerate programme. So if you was to join and you are successful, we do have 5 different intake dates per year across various different business units. So January, April and September, we have our graduates. In August, we have our finance graduates only. And in June, we have our undergraduates and summer interns start with us. If you was to apply and be successful to one of our programmes, your pre-onboarding will include the allocation of a buddy and access to a platform called Canvas. And that's where you can liaise with like-minded graduates, summer interns and IPs, all like yourself, joining on the course. And it just gives you that interaction with them so you can get to know a few names and faces beforehand. It's a little bit like Facebook, but for BAE Systems. And this will happen around 9 to 12 weeks before your start date, so you can discuss any accommodation requirements on their house sectors, etc. You will be required to join our business immersion, which can also be known as an induction for graduates, which is a mandatory 2-week period where you'll learn all about BAE Systems, the programme and health and safety on site, and that's kind of where we cover everything before we allow you into your role, to your hiring managers, and kind of get your feet on the ground. As I mentioned before, the length of the programme can vary between 18 to 30 months, depending on your individual development and capabilities. But we will help you along all the way through discussions with your hiring managers, your graduate leads, and your progression and performance starts with objectives. So each year you'll be given certain objectives set by your manager, and you'll have frequent conversations on a regular basis to help and support these throughout your programme. Then I don't know if you can see at the bottom, you'll have a gateway and endpoint review. So this is a meeting with your line manager where you agree that you are ready to exit the programme. But as explained, the earliest you can exit the programme is after the 18-month mark. So it's a formal meeting with a panel of senior functional professionals that you haven't reported into before. You will present an hour-long presentation on the project that you've undertaken, and then they'll ask you questions on the documents and presentations that you've submitted throughout your time with us and endorse you for your development on the programme. So that's kind of an overall of the graduate programme, which I've gone through really quickly, but you will kind of start with those, and at each point of your course, so the 6 months, the year, the 18 months, and if you do continue on to that, we will support you through each step, and you will have these meetings with hiring managers throughout. So if I just move on to the next slide for me. Perfect. So Our June, July, August and September vacancies are now live on the website. So I just thought we'd explain the progress a little bit for you in clearer detail. So you'll begin applying to a suitable role on our website. So please do ensure that the degree criteria is met prior to applying. So just make sure that your degree does match the degree requirements on the vacancies, because they can be slightly different. You will be then invited to complete your own online assessment, which consists of a video interview and gaming assessments. And from that, you will receive instant feedback via email. Depending on your application and your online assessments, you may be put forward for the next stage of our process. And you may be contacted by our team to schedule an interview based on the hiring manager's availability. During your interview, you will be asked 6 behavioural questions and 3 technical questions. So this is a stage of the process which is a great opportunity to meet your potential new line manager, tell us about yourself, your skills, your ambitions, any experience you may have had, and why you want to work for BAE Systems, really. So as a company, we do use competency-based interviews as a whole. To answer these questions, we do advise that you use the STAR technique. So if you've not heard of that before, it stands for situation, task, action, and response. So your typical based interview questions generally start by asking about a time you may have demonstrated a competency listed in the job description or on our website. So do make sure that you remind yourself of these prior to interview. And if you are successful to this stage, we will talk to you in a bit more detail about them. Then following on from your interview, if you are successful, you will receive a call from us ourselves, and that will be to be made a conditional offer if you're being successful. If you could have the next slide, please, Jenny. Wonderful, thank you. So our support structure, so within BAE Systems, we are committed to provide a strong support structure to all of our employees, whether that you're on the graduate programme, you're undergraduate or summer intern. So as you can see here, these are all the points of contact. So if I just go around, so you'll have your line manager who you report directly into. And again, it does say graduate, but that is for an undergraduate and a summer intern. You'll all have these support structures put in place for yourself. We've got the graduate development lead, and that's a member of the early careers and skills team within each business unit. So the business units I mentioned before, depending if you were to be successful where you was going to come in at, you would have a different individual to report to. You've got a corporate mentor who is a senior manager. The graduate council, who is a body of current graduates made up of representatives from each business unit. And if you were to join us, you are more than welcome to join the Graduate Council. You'll have your buddy, who is an existing or former graduate, and we do try and get them to be from the same business unit, site, and same function if possible. And they are what I mentioned before. So if you were to be successful and about 9 to 12 weeks before you were due to start, we provide you with a buddy. They're just there to answer any questions you might have before starting. And then we have your graduate functional manager, who are an individual with specific responsibilities or interest in developing functional skills amongst our graduates and undergraduates. So they're there also to support you throughout the programme. If we could just have the next slide, please, Jenny. Thank you. So at BAE Systems, we recognise the importance of people who work for us. So our rewards and benefits are competitive, and they are designed to ensure a long-lasting, rewarding relationship with our employees. Our rewards go beyond your salary. So we want to give you a secure foundation so you and your family can have financial peace of mind. We reward great work through an annual incentive and bonus plans while providing the opportunity to join our share scheme. We ensure our employees are their best, allowing you to choose from a range of different health plans and mental health access for you and your family throughout your time with us. And we do have various different discounts from various well-known brands, including shopping, food, travel, and that can all be found on one of our BAE Systems employee apps. As you can see from the screen, we have listed just a few of our rewards and benefits that you will receive when joining us. So maternity, paternity, adoption, share schemes, cycle to work schemes, and our employee assistant programme. I won't read them all out, but there are various different ones and they're all going to be listed on our websites as well. Next slide, please, Jenny. Perfect, thank you. So I don't know if you can see the map there. So that's all of our different sites. So our applications are now live for 2025, and that's roles including summer internships, industrial placements, and graduate roles. Our early careers website does contain details of all the roles, and that will include the salary, the location, and the degree requirements. As I mentioned before you apply for any roles, just double make sure that the degree requirements do match and the location is suitable for yourself if you do need to relocate.
I think we may have lost Lauren there. Can people hear me?
Yep.
Yes. So just carry on. So we just mentioned obviously about some of the locations that are available, and our 2025 undergraduate and graduate roles are all live on the website now. So there's a variety of different roles from different specialisms, sort of including different locations. So if you're interested, you can obviously take a look on our website and have a look at those opportunities. So just move to the next slide. So with the roles, if you are looking for your summer internship, an industrial placement or a graduate role, our recommendation is to apply as soon as possible. That enables you to be able to have the best chance of securing a role with us, as I said, either as a graduate or an undergraduate for 2025. There'll also be an opportunity to sign up to our talent community. So maybe if you're thinking, I'm not looking for a role yet, but I might be looking for one for 26, 27, we can send you the link following the call, which will allow you to join up to our talent community. And all the jobs and details about the roles are on our website, which the link is on there as well, which is basystems.com/graduates. So we'll then move on to our next section. So thank you, Lauren, if you can still hear us, for giving us that great overview of the different programmes and what's available. So what we'd like to do now is to introduce to you some of our current graduates that are on the scheme. Hopefully they're still on the call and are able to hear us and speak. So we've got a mix on our panel today. So they're all joined on the graduate scheme. Some have been involved in a summer internship or multiple summer internships with us, and also industrial placements. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick on each of you individually just to introduce yourselves, to just tell us a little bit about yourself, your role and your background. So I'm going to start with John because I know he can speak at the minute. So John, if you're there, if you could just sort of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
I think you're tempting fate there, assuming my microphone still works. Afternoon, everyone. Yeah, as Jenny says, I'm John, and I am a graduate delivery manager, or also referred to as a project manager. I joined BAE Systems in September 2023, so just had my 1-year anniversary. It's gone very quickly, which I think is testimony to the surprising amount of fun that I've had. And I work for a part of the business called Digital Intelligence. So whilst I'm sure a lot of you are well aware of what BAE Systems Group does, Digital Intelligence is responsible for the cyber arm of UK defence. So we build, we have teams of software engineers. If you're interested in coding or software, definitely take a look. And we build things across government and defence. I've had a great time. I'm a project manager, which involves helping to ensure projects run really smoothly. So if you're interested in being organized and looking after people, I definitely recommend taking a look at those kinds of roles.
Amazing, thanks, John. I'm sure we'll come back and hear a bit more about that with some of our talking points. So, is Jess there?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you, Jess. If you could just introduce yourself to the students.
Yeah. Of course, in January last year. So I have just come off the skill engineer as part of a team called Engineering Projects Group. Early design phases, for example, feasibility studies and preliminary design documents. Obviously, that's just progressing up. That's me.
Thanks, Jess. Is Erin there?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Erin.
Okay, so I'm Erin. I'm a graduate mechanical engineer. Similar to John, I started in September 2023 as a graduate, so just came up to 1 year on the graduate scheme. Prior to that, I did a 12-week summer intern the year before. I'm same as a mechanical engineer, and I work in naval ships business unit in Glasgow. Both summer internship and graduate scheme were there, just in a different role, which I had some say over, which role I went into coming back as a graduate.
Amazing, thank you, Erin. Have we got Tom on the call as well?
Yes, we do. Can you hear me?
There we go. Yes, we can hear you.
So, hello, I'm Tom. I'm a second year finance graduate. I also joined in 2023, and for anyone interested in doing finance but didn't necessarily do a finance degree, fear not, I did classics at university. So I knew very, very little about finance before I started. So yeah, I would recommend the course for whatever degree you do. So our scheme is slightly different in that the finance grads is 3 years and it's 1 year placement. So you do move around the business. So last year, I started in September 2023, just finished my first year, which was in governance. So that's financial governance, which is auditing or reviewing the business processes of John, and I'm on part of the finance scheme. You do CIMA exams, which are management accounting exams. So that is a really good way. So you get a qualification at the end of your 3 years, which is really beneficial, and it just helps getting to understand what finance is and how businesses work and everything. So it's a really good scheme.
Amazing, thanks, Tom. And last but by no means least, have we got Aidan on the call?
Good afternoon, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Perfect, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Aidan Barani. I'm a graduate ILS engineer currently. I joined the graduate program in September 2023, and prior to that, I did a 1 year industrial placement in 2020, 2021. I work in maritime services down in Portsmouth, specifically on warship support. So part of the work we do is supporting the fleet of ships for the Royal Navy and other navies. So I'm primarily based around the Type 26 frigate program, which is the next gen frigate project for the Royal Navy, based out of Portsmouth, but with travel up to our Scotstoun and Govan sites where the ships are being built.
Amazing, thanks, Aidan. So we've got a couple of talking points about the different programs. Obviously, I know some of you have mentioned you've done summer internships and the industrial placements. So just on those sort of programs, so a few of you obviously did the 12 weeks summer internship. So before joining the graduate scheme, can you tell us a little bit more about sort of your experience on that summer internship and sort of the benefits of doing that for your future career?
Yeah, I'm happy to say that one, Jenny.
I
didn't
can
actually.
answer. So I did the 12-week summer internship in mechanical engineering, and for me, that was like so good for me because it was local. I got to go on site, and that's kind of the first experience I had in shipbuilding industry, and it was like I learned so much from it, and it made me a lot more confident going into that final year of university, knowing that I had some industry experience. And the best thing of it obviously came from having that offer of a graduate job when going into final year, which takes off so much stress to try and get a job in final year. And graduate made me to be able to make an informed decision on if it was the company for me, which I did decide it was. But I just felt like so much more confident, and I felt like I had a lot more options open to me. And I guess like I also got to have some say in what team I then went into, and kind of knew some people from my team and knew a bit more about what the company does and what the teams do. Like I said, just making that informed decision.
Absolutely, that's great insight. So, John, I know you did a program before you joined. So, what was your sort of experience of that, and how did that sort of benefit you coming into the graduate scheme?
Cheers, Jenny. Just checking you can still hear me okay. Sorry, I know it's getting boring now. Cool. Yeah, I forgot to mention in my intro, I did 2 internships. So one was after my second year of university and one after my third. I was in Scotland, so I had a 4-year-long degree. I think internships can often be seen as a tick box exercise. And of course, it's true that it's good to have experience when you start applying to jobs. But the value really is in much more than that. It's about figuring out what the hell you want to do. I was definitely someone who never knew what job I wanted to do. My degree was very broad, and I really left it to the last minute. So I did a management degree, which is about as broad as it gets, because I knew I wanted to work in something commercial. And so the internship was a chance to try out a couple of things. So my first year, I was a consultant in one business unit. I then went back and was a consultant in another business unit that I specifically asked to move into because I found it more interesting. But then I actually met someone on my second internship who talked to me about project management. And no one at university or anywhere had ever spoken to me about project management as a viable career path. I guess I would have assumed that you need to be older or not a graduate or have experience in that kind of thing. I didn't know it was a discipline that you can start at the junior level and build up. So I met them and I asked to come back onto a specific project management or delivery management graduate scheme. So I personally credit the internship with helping me figure out what I want to do. And now that I'm a project manager, I realize I was supposed to do that all along. So it's a really nice feeling. I'd encourage you to figure out your own path through doing internships.
Amazing. So obviously the other programme that's available for undergraduates is industrial placement. I know it's becoming a lot more common in some of the degrees that are offering a year in industry. So now we have a couple of you guys on the call who have completed it. So right, Aidan and Jess, you've done a placement. If you're able to sort of share your sort of experience of that, obviously a bit longer period in the business, the 12 months rather than the 12 weeks, and sort of how you found that and what you were able to sort of get involved in and how that was beneficial to you going forwards.
Yeah, of course. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you, Jess.
Fab, thank you. So I actually did a placement year and a summer placement. So I forgot to say that at the start, sorry. So my placement year, I've been in the same team every time I've come back to the business, which has been really nice for me. But when I joined and did my placement year, I had the opportunity also involved going to customer meetings, which I think when you've come out of uni, it can be a little bit daunting because you're going into the real world, as a lot of people say, but actually having that real world and real experience and exposure of how projects actually work really did help me. Going back to uni for my third year, So during those 12 months, I got to work with sort of my electrical team, but also with the combat systems team, which was really nice to have those different parts and different bits of exposure. My manager sort of said to me at the start of my placement year that it's almost like a 12-month long interview. So obviously you do all your bits, and other people in the business finding out about how you actually are as a person in the team, I think is really valuable. And obviously, luckily and gratefully, I was invited back for a summer placement. And during that time, I ended up working solely on one project, which was completely different. So that project ended up being on the offshore patrol vessels, whereas previously I'd been on the Type 45 destroyers. So having that project meant that I had to go on board a lot more, and actually got to see some equipment be fitted, which for me was completely different. Obviously, going into my final year of uni, my master's, I felt very prepared, and like Erin said, it really took the pressure off knowing that I had this graduate role to come back into. I will hand over to Aidan.
Hello, I'm hoping you can still hear me. I
Yes,
would
we can hear
echo.
you.
Perfect. I'd echo a lot of what has been said by everybody else, but sort of to add my own experience, I did a 12-month industrial placement in 2020, 2021, so sort of the peak COVID years, and I was still able to come in to work and decide sort of the hybrid working environment. It was still a really supportive place to be at that time. Being out of university for that year really gives you a different outlook when you return. It certainly helped me improve my grades, and it gave me a completely different approach. As sort of several people I've mentioned, the pressure being off really does help. And the 12-month long job interview phrase is something I've heard as well. It's very much the case. Knowing you had a secure grad scheme to come back to made a huge difference. My placement was in a slightly different role to what I'm in now, and it really gave me the opportunity to sort of get hands-on. I was quite lucky that the team I was in really sort of put me to work, and I know a lot of placements get that experience where I was really contributing something meaningful. Certainly felt that way. It wasn't the idea I had of a placement perhaps in my head beforehand really wasn't so. And yeah, I definitely recommend the placement program, and it enabled me to return and hit the ground running as a graduate. Is probably the best way to describe it. So yeah, those are my additions.
Amazing, thanks Aidan. So obviously we've talked about the undergraduate programmes, but you've all joined and either come back to the graduate scheme. So in terms of the actual graduate scheme itself, I know you're all at different points with on it. I know Jess has just exited, but what's sort of your experience so far of that graduate scheme? And I think we'll start with Tom, because I know that he's not had the opportunity to say too much, and he's on a slightly different pathway in terms of our finance role.
Yeah, so just to clarify, the question was just how have I found the grad scheme so far?
Yeah, so what sort of you been able to get involved with, and how have you found it really?
Yeah, so I know this will segue into one of the questions in the chat, which was or fearing that you may not know anything at the time. Yeah, so the good thing is you do feel very overwhelmed at the start, but that's almost the point. The finance scheme, because it's 3 different placements, they take you out the moment you feel like you can finally contribute something useful to the business, in the sense that you finally got your feet and you understand the process. They whisk you away and put you in another one, just so you get, it's for the development, so you learn how to do everything. So it's been a bit overwhelming at first, both placements, like last year and then this year. I'm only a week and a bit into, I started last Monday my new placement. And it's overwhelming, but they know you're a grad, and so in that case they're very aware, they're very used to having grads. So in terms of not knowing anything, you're not expected to at the start, so that's absolutely fine. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a good challenge. You get involved, and a lot of it is you get out. It's a very cliche phrase, but you get out of it as much as you put in. So in addition to your day role, there are stretch assignments which you can do, and that can be in anything. It doesn't have to be, for me, finance related. It could be in anything. So I'm on the grad council or business acumen group as well, like doing some presentations for that. So there's a lot of, it's all because it's such a big company. If you want to tailor your experience to what you find interesting, you just need to ask and push. I hope that answered the questions. It was a bit meandering.
No, absolutely. And for the rest of you guys, if anybody would like to sort of talk about maybe some of the things that they've been able to get involved with, whether that's something that they expected within the role or something different than their expectations.
Yeah, I'll add something. I think
my graduate scheme, you're in that one role for the full duration of it. But just to go back to what Tom said with the stretch assignments, there is a lot of opportunity to get involved in different things. Something I got involved in is like part of the design for a new building that's been built in Govan, which is something that isn't in my role as mechanical engineer for ship design, but it was something I was able to get involved in for a stretch assignment, which was really good opportunity.
Amazing. And what about yourself, John?
Cheers, Jenny. Yeah, I think there might be some audio issues because I start and then. Yeah, I think the interesting thing for me was, I guess I assumed that as a graduate I might get babied or not be able to pick up responsibility. Specifically as a project manager, I think it came back to my preconceived notion that you can't be a graduate project manager. So I thought that I'd be in kind of a support role or work shadowing or just trying to learn. And whilst there was some of that and I had opportunities to learn, I was thrown in the deep end. And that's not to say that it was without choice. I think I pushed for that and I wanted that. And so the company gave me the opportunity to pick up as much responsibility as I could handle. So currently I sit across 8 projects, of which I guess I'm solely responsible for managing on a day-to-day. So that's eight different teams across 8 different parts of the business that all do different things. I probably got my first 2 projects about 2 months into the business where they said, here you go, good luck. But there was all the support in place and ad hoc training and bits like that really helped me to hit the ground running. More recently as well, actually, not directly as part of the grad scheme, but I guess an interesting opportunity to point out is that company has paid for me to go to London every week to do a master's module with Kings, which is relevant to my role, which I guess is an example of some of the great opportunities that there are here. I've also made loads of friends. So there was that map earlier of all the different office locations, and I moved from Birmingham, where I used to live, down to Gloucester, where I am now, and all my friends are through work in the area, and we have a great time, and there's lots of events and stuff like that. So it's a really nice feeling and welcoming place to work.
Amazing. So one thing I just wanted to ask, is Jess still on the call? Yes. So just wanted to ask you, Jess, obviously, as somebody who has recently come to the end of their graduate scheme, sort of what's your sort of reflection on your experience on the scheme?
I think looking back, I can't believe where the time's disappeared. And as obviously was mentioned before, as you're coming off scheme, you do a presentation to various people about all your sort of achievements and what you've sort of enjoyed on the scheme. And when I had to do this and pull this all together, it sort of highlighted how many different projects and how many opportunities I'd had over the 18 months. And I think when you just kind of getting on with it on a day-to-day, you don't really step back and look at it. And I think for me, looking over all the bits that I've been involved in and all the people that I've been able to speak to, not just in my team, in sort of the wider business, it's just been incredible. I don't know, people have mentioned like the support. There hasn't ever been a time that I've reached out to someone and they haven't been willing to sort of speak to me. And I know that I definitely used it while I was on scheme. And someone sort of mentioned it at the start of mine about using the grad card or like undergrad card, and basically people are even more willing to assist you. But I think I've been really grateful that I have come back to the same team multiple times, and obviously now I'm off, I've still got the same manager, and I've had him, and he realised the other day that he's actually known me sort of 5 years, which is quite scary when you put it like that. But one of the things that I want to achieve in the next few years, obviously, to become a chartered engineer. And so we've sat down and sort of gone through what we need to do for those steps. And I've been given additional responsibility of actually managing one of the industrial placements. So that's something that I never thought I'd have the opportunity to do. But I'm, again, very grateful for, and hope that I'm able to help them as much as other people help me in the business.
Amazing, thanks Jess. So one last sort of topic to discuss. So obviously we've got lots of people on the call today who are currently studying at university and are potentially, hopefully, after this call, looking to apply for either an undergraduate or a graduate role with us. So if you were in their shoes again, having your experience going through the interview process, joining the various schemes, what advice would you give to our students on the call that are thinking about applying or thinking about a graduate scheme or an undergraduate role? Might be easier if I go around and pick on you and make you say something. If we start with John, put you on the spot.
Absolutely. Putting me on the spot, like these interviews are going to put everyone on the spot. Look, I think it's all the classic stuff, like taking the time to prepare for the interviews and even if it's recorded, really giving everything your best shot. I think what helps with that is not kind of scattergunning applications, but really stop it. I mean, you can get carried away with, I've sent in 20 applications and that's great, and so my chances are 20 times higher. Actually, your chances would be far higher if you sent one good one. So take the time before you apply to anything to really think about what it is you want to do and what aligns with your skill set, what excites you, because I think then you will give the interviews, etc., a better shot. I had another point, but I forgot it, so I will leave that there.
Don't worry. Erin, anything to add?
Apologies, I can't hear anything that John said, so sorry if I repeat anything. But I would just say not to underestimate the value of a summer internship or industrial placement. Having that industry experience is really, really beneficial, even if you don't then choose to return as a graduate or you find out that that job isn't for you. That's still worth knowing. And for me, having some industrial experience, I was able to apply that to my degree when I went back to university. So definitely, if you have the opportunity to, then definitely try and do that, and don't be afraid to apply, even if something is something you think might be a bit out your comfort zone. Like, definitely still apply, and as long as you're scared that you don't know everything, it is a learning opportunity, and I just recommend everyone to apply and hopefully be confident in yourself that you can do it.
Absolutely. And if we go to Tom now, obviously you've come from a different sort of degree background relating to your role. So is there any advice you would give to somebody who is maybe looking at different opportunities which may not be directly linked with their degree?
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter if you don't do the degree, but you do need to have an initial awareness. This is nothing that you cannot find online. So that's where I found it. You look online. So for my interview, what is accountancy? So knowing just basics of the area you're going into, doing as much research about that. And I've seen in the chat actually, in terms of how to structure your answers, the STAR technique, situation, task, action, result. Do that for any, this is general interview advice. All interviews, just come up with scenarios where you've I don't know, shown leadership or thought on your feet, and just come up with these answers. And then, especially for the video interviews as well, practice just delivering them in front of a mirror, because that's how it's just the more practice you give yourself, the more times you go through these answers, the more refined they are and the better they are, and you can time them, and it just comes across better. But yeah, in terms of applying to a different area, just show you, if you do it because you're interested, right? So show that interest in reading up about it, reading up on the wider, I don't know if you're interested in finance and the wider financial areas, just knowing you don't need to be an expert, just knowing a fundamental base understanding of what you're going in for is good.
Amazing, thanks Tom. And we've obviously not heard from Aidan or Jess. Is there anything you want to add in terms of advice to the students that might be applying or looking at an undergraduate placement or internship programme?
Yep, I'm happy to jump in. It was a while ago applying for my placement, but something I'd advise, sort of on reflection now, is that a lot of the people I work with in the teams might only be applying for an awareness and a learning opportunity. Definitely go into it with that mindset into the interview and into the role if you're successful, knowing that it's a fantastic opportunity to learn and develop. That would be my one piece of advice.
Amazing, thanks Aidan, that is really good advice. I don't know if Jess is still here, if you've got anything else that you'd like to add. I don't think we can hear you. Sorry, I think the sound went on there. Oh, I think we've had some technical issues there. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, I can hear you, Jenny.
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. So yeah, I've just had a notification she's lost her internet connection. So that would be why. So thank you very much to you guys for joining, and I hope that's been really beneficial to our students on the call, and hopefully some of you might be considering maybe doing a summer internship, or if your degree course does offer an industrial placement, to go on those. As our grads have described, they can be really valuable experiences, not only for your future career but yourself, and sort of figuring out what exactly it is you want to do with your career, and sort of helping you potentially look at the graduate scheme. And if you are coming to the end of your university career and you are looking for a graduate role, as I said before, our 2025 roles, both undergraduate and graduate roles, are available online. Do have a look at those and see if there's anything that you would be interested in, and get those applications in early to give you the best chance of securing an opportunity with us for 2025. So I know that a lot of questions have been coming in, and I know that some of our grads and our graduate recruiters have been answering the questions as we've sort of been going along. But has anybody else got any questions that they'd like to add in the chat? We've got a couple of minutes left before we end. Just give you a minute if you do want to put anything in. I think we've had one of these questions before, but around visa sponsorships for graduate roles and also on nationality. So everything is on a case-by-case basis, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lauren and Kyle, but everything's sort of listed on the job applications, and they will be considered on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, definitely case by case. There is a little bit on the job description about export control and security, so we would just advise everybody to have a look at that. But yeah, definitely, Jenny, case by case for us to look at.
And a question here, I think that's quite good if any of the grads have got any perspective about how you feel prospective candidates connect with people in the company. So I'm presuming you mean stuff like on LinkedIn. Yeah. So would any of you guys be happy for people to reach out to you? If not, we do have sort of our GART email, which we can circulate as well. So if you do have questions around the application process and things like that, they can be passed along to our graduate recruitment team. Any other questions before we wrap up and I pass back to Fern to close? Yeah, a couple of the grads have said they're happy to connect with some of you on LinkedIn. So do follow up with them afterwards. So I think that is it on the questions. I can't see any more coming in. So if we can just pass across to Fern to close the session.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you so much again. I'm just going to jump on and just say a final thank you to all our reps from BAE Systems. We really appreciate you taking your time and answering these questions. And for all those as well that have registered and attended today, we hope you found it insightful and engaging. If you are interested in rewatching this webinar, then we will be adding it onto our Target Jobs website where you can watch it on demand. And again, obviously, if there is any information that you'd like to follow up on, then again, take a look on BAE Systems platform on our website, and they'll have all the links and all the information on there as well. But for now, thank you so much for attending, everyone, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, Fern. Thanks, everybody.